The softness that survival built. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today's conversation emerged from an exchange with someone who is quietly revolutionizing what it means to survive with your soul intact. Sabrina A is not just a survivor, they are a spiritual warrior, an entrepreneur, and a living testament to the fact that your hardest story can become the very medicine you bring to the world. Sabrina has walked through group homes, street life, spiritual abuse, and family betrayal, and still chose morals over chaos, purpose over pain, and healing over hiding. They are making the world a better place simply by refusing to let their past write their future. Their journey is a blueprint for what it means to transform survival into something sacred. And what they shared with me changed the way I understand resilience, softness, and power. So let's talk about truth. Your truth, the kind that sits heavy in your chest at 3 in the morning, the kind you've been trained to keep quiet about. Because, well, strong Black women don't crack, right? We hold it together. We carry everybody. We smile through the storm. And we definitely don't talk about the parts of our story that make people uncomfortable. We don't talk about the group homes. We don't talk about the streets. We don't talk about the hands that hurt us or the systems that failed us. We don't talk about the spiritual warfare that left us questioning our sanity. We don't talk about the family members who chose their comfort over our safety. We just keep moving. We just keep surviving. But here's what I learned from Sabrina A. And here's what I want you to hear today. Your truth is your power, not your shame. Even when you've survived the streets, even when you've been moved from group home to group home, even when you've been attacked, assaulted, or betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect you, your story is not a liability. It's not something to hide. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's a blueprint. It's your healing. And it's the healing your community needs, whether they know it yet or not. Sabrina told me something that I cannot stop thinking about. They said, I've been exposed to things I cannot explain. Entities and forces have been trying to fight me my whole life, but I believe in myself and I continue to fight every single day. Nothing can stop me. I'm unstoppable. And then they said this, but I never became a prostitute. I always stood 10 toes down, and I always had morals about myself that I would not let myself down. That right there, that's not just survival, that's sovereignty. That's someone who looked chaos in the face and said, You will not take my soul. And I know some of you listening right now have your own version of that story. Maybe you didn't grow up in the streets, but you grew up in a house that felt just as dangerous. Maybe you didn't survive a group home, but you survived a marriage that tried to kill your spirit. Maybe you didn't face spiritual warfare in a literal cult, but you faced it in a church that weaponized scripture to control you, shame you, or silence you. Maybe you didn't lose your body to the streets, but you lost your voice to a job, a family, or a community that demanded you stay small, stay quiet, stay grateful, and maybe, just maybe, you've been carrying that story like a secret, like a scar you have to keep covered because you're afraid that if people knew the whole truth, they wouldn't see you as strong anymore. They wouldn't see you as worthy. They wouldn't see you as soft. But here's the thing, sis, softness and survival are not opposites, they're sisters. And the women who have survived the most are often the ones who deserve softness the most. Let me tell you about Dr. Thema Bryant. She's a Black woman psychologist, a trauma specialist, and the former president of the American Psychological Association. She survived exposure to violence and trauma in her youth, and instead of letting that define her in shame, she turned it into her calling. She became one of the leading voices in trauma healing and spiritual emotional wellness for Black communities. She hosts a podcast called Homecoming, and she teaches survivors how to move from trauma to wholeness. She's a professor at Pepperdine University. She's an international speaker, and she's living proof that you can be both deeply spiritual and deeply honest about your pain. Dr. Bryant didn't hide her story. She used it, she centered it, she let it inform her work, her ministry, and her mission. And now she's influencing mental health policy at the highest level, helping Black women and marginalized communities get the care, the language, and the permission they need to heal. She normalized trauma healing for Black communities and showed that our hardest stories can become the very medicine we bring to the world. That's what happens when you stop treating your truth like a liability and start treating it like a legacy. Now, I want to talk about transformation because survival is one thing, but turning survival into purpose, that's alchemy, that's sacred work. And that's exactly what Sabrina A is doing. Sabrina walked away from the streets. They refused to sell their body even when the pressure was unbearable. They chose entrepreneurship. They chose morals. They chose to build something sacred from the very places that tried to break them. And that's not easy. That's not soft in the way the world defines soft. That's soft in the way we define it here in the soft girl era, where softness is not weakness, it's a radical act of self love and self preservation. Let me tell you about Melissa Butler. She's a Black woman from Detroit who founded the Lip Bar, a vegan beauty brand, because she was tired of not seeing Black women reflected in mainstream beauty. She went on Shark Tank and got rejected on national television. They told her she had a bad idea. They dismissed her. They humiliated her in front of millions of people. But she didn't stop. She didn't internalize their rejection. She didn't believe the lie that her vision wasn't valuable. She self funded. She kept building. She used social media, radically honest branding that centered Black women's real skin tones, real lips, real identities. And now the lip bar is sold at Target and Walmart. It's a multi-million-dollar brand, and it's become synonymous with representation, inclusion, and bold, unapologetic Black beauty. Melissa took pain, exclusion, and dismissal, and she alchemized it into a business that reflects and heals her community. That's what Sabrina is doing. That's what you can do. You can take the very thing that tried to destroy you and turn it into the very thing that saves you and saves somebody else. But here's the part we don't talk about enough: healing is not just an individual journey, it's a community responsibility. And that's the third thing I want you to take away from Sabrina's story. Sabrina said something that hit me in my chest. They said, I always find the good in things. Even after everything, even after the abuse, the betrayal, the spiritual warfare, the isolation, they still choose to find the good. They still choose to fight. They still choose to show up. And that's not because they're naive, it's because they understand that healing is an inner revolution. And it's also a community responsibility. We have to face reality. We have to call out narcissistic, heartless programming. We have to do the inner work to, as Sabrina put it, correct the problems written in our souls. And we have to do it not just for ourselves, but for the Black folks coming up after us, for the little girls who are watching, for the women who are still stuck, for the community that needs more love, more truth, and more safety. Let me tell you about Janina Ortega, also known as Nina Nine. She's a Black Latina entrepreneur who built Curbox, a subscription brand for natural hair. She built it while carrying unhealed trauma and relentless hustle. She was grinding, pushing, surviving, but she was exhausted. Her spirit was exhausted. Her body was exhausted, so she made a choice. She chose therapy, she chose mental health support. She recentered her business around love, rest, and authenticity, not just grind and survival. And Kerbox became a multi-million-dollar brand that empowers thousands of Black women to embrace their natural hair and their self-worth. Nina Nine's story shows us that softness, therapy, and truth telling are not weaknesses. They are strategies for long term power and healing. They are how we break generational curses. They are how we create more love, more truth, and more safety for our people. So here's what I want you to do, not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Tonight, I want you to tell the whole truth, at least to yourself. Write down one painful truth you've been hiding from and one way you will honor yourself instead of abandoning yourself. Maybe it's the truth about how tired you are. Maybe it's the truth about how much you've been carrying. Maybe it's the truth about what happened to you that you've never said out loud. Maybe it's the truth about the person you're protecting who doesn't deserve your protection. Write it down, look at it, and then decide right there that you will no longer let that truth live in the shadows of your soul. And then I want you to choose one soft healing action over one survival habit. Maybe that's booking a therapy consult. Maybe that's setting a boundary with a toxic family member. Maybe that's starting the business idea you've been talking yourself out of. Maybe it's just resting without explanation. Maybe it's saying no without apologizing. Maybe it's letting someone else carry the weight for once. Choose one thing, one soft, sacred, healing thing, and do it. And finally, I want you to commit to being a safe person in your community. Check on the strong friend. Believe Black survivors. Refuse to participate in narcissistic, heartless behavior, online or offline. Be the person you needed when you were going through it. Be the aunt, the cousin, the friend, the coworker who says, I see you. I believe you. You don't have to carry this alone because here's the truth, sis. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not too damaged. You are not too street. You are not too soft. You are exactly who you need to be right now in this moment. And your story, your whole story, the parts you've been hiding and the parts you've been healing, that story is your power. Sabrina A taught me that. Dr. Thema Bryant taught me that. Melissa Butler taught me that. Nina Nine taught me that. And now I'm teaching you. Your truth is your power, not your shame. You can transform survival into purpose. And healing is an inner revolution and a community responsibility. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission to be soft. Stop waiting for someone to validate your pain. Stop waiting for the world to make space for your healing. You make the space. You give yourself permission. You validate your own story. You choose softness as an act of rebellion. You choose truth as an act of power. You choose healing as an act of love. And when you do, you won't just change your life, you'll change the lives of every Black woman watching you. Every little girl who needs to see that survival doesn't have to be her identity. Every sister who's been waiting for someone to say, Me too. You will become the blueprint. You will become the medicine. You will become the revolution. This is your soft girl era. And you, sis, you are right on time. Now go be soft. Go be free. Go be whole. The world is waiting for the real you.